live. I have a special, glorious guest today. We have I don't even know what to say, holistic hottie in the
Mhm.
screen here. You've got to see and know if you have not found her channel yet, go like, subscribe. It is Creative Living with Ameasha, and we've got Ameasha live. So welcome.
Hey there, Sammy. You are so gorgeous, girl.
Oh, well,
I
thank
have
you.
seen your videos.
You are too sweet. I found you on Chip South's channel. Shout out to Chip too. I saw you on there.
Yeah.
And the first video I saw, you were outside. I think it's in this same space. And I was like, ooh, like she's like, I don't think I registered what you were saying at first. I'm like, ooh, such a pretty background. Like you're cute. You have such great energy. I was like, okay. And then you probably saw like me, like, oh, let me just watch all of them. Like, we'll just watch all of it. We'll just watch
Thank
all the videos. But I do think there's just something like super attractive about the vibe. And I love that you're not just super niched in on one thing. Like I could watch one video and get some information in one space, watch another one and get information somewhere totally different. So
Yeah.
that certainly speaks to the versatility. Like you've got great information, and if I'm gonna get great information, I might as well get it with great energy too. So that's why I was like, okay, let me see another one. I do have to know, with there being kind of the variety of topics and things, which one brought you to YouTube and which one is lighting you up like most in this current season?
Mhm. So, what brought me to YouTube initially? Um, I took a YouTube success challenge with a lady, and I was reluctant. I was not going to get on YouTube. First of all, I didn't even know what YouTube was. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I was in my own little world, and my sister said, "You need to get with the real world." And I said, "What is the real world?" And she was like, "On social media, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook." I hadn't even been on Facebook, let me tell you, except the last few years. My sister Zim created me a page some years ago so I could just stay in tune with what was going on with the family, my nieces and nephews or whatever, but I was barely on there. But I started watching YouTube finally, and then I saw a lady that I had been watching, and she had this YouTube success challenge, and she just said, "Let's get on here. Let's let." She had a class, actually. You have to pay for it and all that, but she taught us how to get on and all, and that's how I started. So I didn't really know what I was going to talk about. I know I was just doing little reels on Facebook, and my family and friends would be like, "I like how you enjoy your life." So I said, well, let me call this channel Creative Living with Ameasha, just kind of show the entertainment part of my life on reels, on the shorts for YouTube. And that's kind of how it started. But I had this passion. I got this thing for the homeless people. And so that has always touched my heart. And so I ended up on doing those videos, and they got really good viewer viewership on there. So I kept doing that, but I also know that I'm starting herbalism, so now I'm just trying to venture over there to that. So yeah, it's a creative channel, that's for sure. um I can't see myself just staying on one topic, not because I'll get bored, but just because I don't want to be a boring person. So I'm always learning, like me and you talked about how you have this over and over, just not in order. Okay, so
Right.
I'm finding myself.
Yep, I kind of am too. I think the variety is nice too, though, like to not be stuck in one lane. Cause I feel like a lot of creators will get huge in one lane. And then if they talk about something else, everyone's like big mad in the comments, like, wait, I'm here for, makeup and you're talking about this. So I do
Yes.
think it's kind of almost wise to just do whatever you're passionate about. Plus, people want to watch what you're lit up about. So if you lose the passion for it, it's not going to be engaging. And if those are like your true core passions like the homelessness, you don't want to lose passion for that. You don't want that to
Mhm.
ever become just, for a video. So I think that is definitely a wise approach. I was just like, I wonder where that starting point was. That was definitely the first thing I thought was like, I wonder what got, what got here. My kids started me on YouTube because I had never
Really?
watched YouTube either. And they're like, Mom, there's a lot more educational stuff. And I told one of them they had to get off TikTok. So like, then you have to get off TikTok too. And I was like, okay, fine. So I got off TikTok, went to YouTube, and I've just never left the space. So here I am. But I was just watching people's and I was like, I have things to say. Okay. I have things to say too. So mine is a little mixed bag as well. Sometimes it's what I'm working on in school or just things I'm learning along the way that I'm like, man, I wish somebody would have told me that. And some of your stuff too, I definitely resonated with. I feel like yes, there are books for everything. I love to read, but I also love to just glean wisdom right from sources who have already kind of like got that. So
Yeah.
that's why I was like, okay. One of the things I definitely want to ask you about, because you are clearly like very tuned in on, very natural with, is just you have like a very clean, unbothered energy where like you're happy and you're enjoying life, but it seems very effortless, very flowy. Is there anything you can say to speak to that? Like what got you there?
Well, my mother would probably say I've been like this since a little girl. And so I think we all have that energy, when we were little. But I think life had just kind of kicked our butts, some of us, and so we don't show it as much. Life has taught us to be serious. And so I had this nonchalant kind of thing about me, a zest for life from the very beginning. But then I started having some things happen to me as well, where life started kicking my butt. But I kept it because I started going down. So very, very early on, I'll say I started going down a spiritual journey, probably about the age of 19. So I lost a little girl. I lost my daughter at 7.5 months old. And so that changed the trajectory of my life. And so I went down a spiritual journey. And I say that's what keeps me today, even when I go through things, and how I seem to have this thing about me, that people always ask about. So it's not anything special, but I think that I can contribute what I went through and that journey that I was on to had got me here. And so that keeps me, that sustains me.
That definitely makes sense. I feel like a lot of times when you've gone through something, you also really appreciate the now because you get
Mhm.
that understanding that the now is not a promise, it is not a guarantee. So you are able to enjoy whatever the now is a little bit better. At least for me, I feel like once I had experienced some loss and some of those little
Yeah.
kicks, it's like, okay, I have a greater appreciation for the good days and good moments and good things that come too. So that makes sense for sure. Let me look at my notes real quick. I know there was something else that I wanted to ask you about. Oh, yes. So you always have nice, beautiful outdoor backgrounds from, trips and things like that. And I saw recently, I don't know if it was a podcast or I read it, but that men recharge from women and women recharge from nature. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? Do you feel like there's something to that? Because the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yes, yes. No, I just saw it and it made me think of you because you have all the different backgrounds and trips and things like that where you're outside just like living life, enjoying. That women recharge in nature and men recharge from women. Like we get our energy from nature and, exploring, and then they somehow get that energy from us versus, I mean, they may be doing the same thing on the same trip, but not get that recharge the way that women do. And I wanted to see if you agreed with that.
Yes, 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 totally. So if we're going to talk about women in nature, we do. You have to think about, and I don't. I know it's safe to say on your show because I know that you are a Christian homemaker. So, but just to be politically correct, just somewhere else. Biologically, us as women, right? Creation has gifted us with a lot of power. We birth babies, right? So we can
Yes.
birth babies. So
Yes.
we do. We're very powerful. We have a lot of gifts, and we do recharge in nature. And men, innately, biologically, are influenced by us. Everything that they do usually was to impress women, right?
Yes. Oh,
So
yeah. Historically,
a lot
absolutely.
of times. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So they are charged by us. So, but we're for each other is how I see it. And like I said, we'll try to stay politically correct, but I know it's safe to say here for you. So I'm just gonna say biologically, but we're charged by nature, and then they feed off us. Yes,
Even
definitely.
energetically, I do feel like in a lot of the Christian community, like that's like a no-no space. That's new age. And I'm like, really is it though? Because a lot of times the science and the biology will line up with things we already know. Like things
Mhm.
that were already out there. It's not new stuff. And I do feel like people in the Christian space, like if you believe that God created all of this, then why would he not be part of this part of it, like the energetics and the feminine, masculine, and all of those things. Like, I feel like there are definitely spaces where, of course, someone is mowing during the like this never happens during a weekday, so I hope it's not loud. But yeah, someone is definitely here to mow. So my apologies. But yes, I had never heard that before. And the more it like sunk in, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I think that is certainly a truth. And whether women are, single with someone or not, I do think that is like such a life hack to recharging. Like for anyone who maybe experience anything like depression or just going through something, like it's amazing when you get outside how the stress just starts to melt off and things don't seem quite as bad and the thoughts start flowing. So I think there's something to that. Maybe I need a nice back porch to film on too, and then I'll just be relaxed on my life. Maybe that's my next step.
That is true. It will change you. It will change your mood. It changes a lot of things. So, although I made a nice, peaceful, sacred space in the house, I made a very beautiful space for myself as a woman, right? As a homemaker, and I love being home. But once I get outside, I never want to go home. I never
Yeah.
want to go in a building or a house. So it's amazing though. Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
I feel that one. And where I live, we do have seasons and it's just now getting into that like warm nice season. And I'm like, love my house. I'll see it again in like November. Like I'll be in here while, when I have to, but otherwise I could definitely stay outside too. There is, I don't know, it's just a whole different element. I know in the beginning you talked about getting into some of the holistic and herbal and all of that. So I love all of that. And I've seen a ton of value for a ton of people from, just anywhere. All cultures there. There are certain things that you'll see overlapping in cultures that had no contact, before. So I'm like, that right there. If you look at timelines of some of the things, I'm like, that right there says it for me before seeing it play out. But with any recent like health issues or experimentation or learning that you're doing right now, are there any hacks or just things that you've uncovered that you feel like could bring value to people who may not have seen that yet?
A health crisis took me to herbalism, right? Sometimes things have to happen before you get drawn into something. And it's funny though, because ironically, in my early 20s, to be a naturopath doctor, right? And I moved from the north to the south, and just my eating habits had changed, and I just kind of walked away from what I originally wanted to do. Sometimes we just go down a different path. But I started having some health challenges, and it brought me so full circle back to what I originally wanted to do and what I originally wanted to study. But yes, I have found through a health challenge, and I won't go too much in detail, but I have been severely anemic. And I know sometimes, anemic is very common. Anemia is very common with most people, and so we just put it off like it's nothing. Go take some iron pills. And sometimes I would land into the ER and different things, and they would say, "Oh, you're low with your iron. Just go take some iron supplements." So no one would say how low I actually, really was, or they didn't see the full picture. But I started passing out. I would be out at a park or in public, and I wake up and people would be standing around me. So it just
Oh
started really
no.
getting really bad.
Yeah.
And so I had to find something to sustain me because I end up having to get iron infusions and things like that, and just always in emergency. But I have found something that has worked, that has been keeping me sustained between those iron infusions, and hopefully one day it will just keep me out of the doctor's office for good. And so I have created some herbal blends. Contact me, they can email me, and I can give them some herbal blends as well. But one thing that I have discovered that is right in my backyard is this dandelion, loaded with iron. All right. So some herbalist women that I know, they said go outside, eat 3 dandelion a day. I try to eat one.
I've heard of the tea. I've heard of the dandelion tea, but I haven't actually heard of just eating the actual.
I do the tea, but I knew you were going to ask me something about herbalism. And so that's why I went out.
You were prepared.
Yeah, I'm prepared. So I said I eat one a day, but that's not it. So I have a, like I said, a whole blend of things, um, including dandelion or herbs. So yes, yes, that's how it ended up that way, and that has changed my life. These herbs and these plants.
I definitely think there's a ton of value to it. And now there is research supporting things that people have been doing for thousands of years, which
Mhm.
I love when the science lines up with stuff you can actually see. But there's a ton of research out there. And I definitely think the low iron is a super common thing. I had a few pass outs and stuff in high school.
Mm.
And then they essentially said, take the iron pills and eat some steak. I'm like, well, I don't like steak. And the iron pills upset my stomach so bad, I would be
Mhm.
miserable. I'm like, "Okay, well, do I wanna be miserable walking around or miserable passed out?" But over time, I did kind of figure out, like, with my cycle and things like that, certain times that I need to have it more than others, and other times I would be okay. But it's certainly something that I don't feel like there's a lot of research, but there's a lot of people that need that research, need that information. Some of
Yes.
the other I mean, there's a ton of supplements out there that I've seen little to nothing on, and I'm like, "Wow, what a game changer." Like, I don't even wanna know, probably 10 people talking about ashwagandha, and I'm like, "Okay, well, like, what's the point? Like, one more supplement for me to take?" And then as I started looking into it, I'm like, "Oh, wow." Like, there's the list
Mhm.
5 miles
Mhm.
long, and I have recommended it to a couple friends too, and combinations of stuff like that, whether like that or the 5-HTP, a few things like that, where people are completely off very expensive, very addictive depression medication and can
Mhm.
take 3 or 4 supplements and some tea and feel better than on those medications. So I definitely think there is huge value to anyone who is suffering from anything to look at the holistic route too, and not just rely, even if you have the best of the best insurance, don't just rely on, going to the doctor. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is with it becoming a little more common culture, a little more popularized, do you think we will ever get back to a point where it actually is healthcare and not just, I call it sick care? Do you think we'll
Mhm.
ever get there? Or are we too far gone? Too much money in it? What do you think on that?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that so many people are, sick, and that a lot of this medicine is not helping. Um, it has its place. Don't get me wrong, but I'm very hopeful that there's so much awareness now going on about herbs and alternative medicine and different things like that, that people are coming around and that they're wanting something different for themselves. Yes, so I'm hopeful, but
Yeah.
you just never know.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50. Like there's so many just trillions of dollars thrown at it that I think it will be difficult for the people with that knowledge to kind of break through and get the knowledge to people. But if
Mhm.
people start picking it up and learning on their own, I absolutely think it could completely change the game. Why would you want to take a pill if you can go in your backyard for the same thing? Just like the dandelion example. I'm sure we all have those. Like
Mhm.
that's a
Mhm.
perfect example of options that are available that we're just not aware of. People are so out of touch of some of those historic cures that they just don't even exist in our mindset. But maybe they will. Maybe they will see your YouTube, learn the things, and not have to go to the doctor.
Well, they are already capitalizing. It's getting ready to be big money. So I believe it's going to change because they're going to be able to make money off of these herbs too.
Yeah,
So it probably will change. And we have to think herbs are already in the regular medicine, the
the
synthetic
treatments.
medicine. So what people don't know is just some
Yeah,
stronger things that they're adding on. It probably doesn't help, but those herbs are already in the medicine,
yeah.
believe it or not.
It's
But
with a bunch
they're
of
getting
toxic
ready.
other stuff too.
Yeah.
Stuff we don't need.
Hmm.
Are there any books or channels or anything that you've come across that you think would be a good starting point for people who are just looking to enjoy life a little more, whether on the herbalism space or just across the board to enjoy their life a little bit more?
Now for you, Sammy, because usually I'm just going to say this. I don't usually like recommending any books or anything because I have noticed that if you say something in particular, not for all people, if you say a particular book or a channel or someone that you listen to, that you follow, that people sometimes tend to be biased, right? So if I happen to tell you that I'm reading a new age book, then they're going to think, oh, she's new age. Some people sometimes they get a little biased, not all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I've
And
gotten that judgment a few times
yeah,
before.
and
I
I'm
get it for tattoos, I get it for things, and I'm like, okay, well,
mhm.
information is information.
Different. That's how I feel. I've been loving reading since a little girl, and I don't care if I'm in the coffee shop. I don't care if I'm in the doctor's office. If you have a brochure or a magazine or something on the wall, I'm reading it, right? So I'm just always learning. And so I tend not to give out books. But for you, because I know you are such a seeker and I know you're into psychology and all of that. Years ago, I was at my grandmother's house, and I probably would have been biased too, but I'm usually not. But I just say probably would have been biased. So let me just quickly tell you, I was at my grandmother's house, and I went down. I was about 19 years old. I went down in her basement, probably to throw some laundry or something. So where I live was an apartment building, and I brought my laundry over to her. Thank God for grandmothers. Okay, I
Yeah.
should be embarrassed to say it at 19, but my grandmother was still washing my clothes. And so not only did she have her laundry room, she had the basement was kind of decked out and decorated. It was a bedroom and a sitting area. And so my uncle was living with her at the time. And as I was getting ready to go back up the stairs, I noticed a paperback book sitting on the dresser. And it did not have a cover, it did not have the back, it did not have the jacket at all. All right. But curious as I was, I picked it up, took it upstairs, started reading it, of course. Whew, I stole that book from my uncle. I never thought about that. He never he never got that book back. But anyways, it changed my life, and I'm gonna tell you who it is. but it changed my life. It started shaping my life, shaping my perspective, shaping my mindset. And when I later on, when I found out who it was, it's a possibility I might not have read it. No judgment, but at 19 years old, I think I was into Iyanla Van Zant books, different things like that. That's just where I was on my path. And so we didn't have internet. So you had to go back then to the regular bookstores and all of that. And so I had to find out who the person was. But by the time I had read the book, I wanted to know everything that person was talking about, every book. And he was always on the PBS channels. And his name was Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he wrote Your Erroneous Zones. And so for you, I'll tell you that because some people would consider it like new age or whatever, but it changed my life. It really changed my life and my perspective. And every time I get a chance to, he's passed on. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago. But every time I see him on YouTube, every time I see someone like Hay House selling a book discounted on sale, I grab it. Okay, so there you have it. It's called Your Erroneous Zones, and it's Dr. Wayne Dyer. All right,
Okay.
so I wouldn't say that would be the book for you, but I know you're a seeker. But anything that he writes is pretty good. And
I know I've heard that name, but I don't know if it was PB. I don't know where I've heard it from. I'll have to
mm,
look it up. And it could have been in one of a class or something too, because they kind of rapid fire stuff for you to read. So it may have
mhm.
even been something I've seen, but I've heard the name. So I will have to check that out and let you know if I get life change results or not. I feel there's a few books in there that a lot of them I'll get referred that book multiple times and then finally I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I got to read it." Like I keep hearing about certain books from certain people and even some of the like really deep psychology ones that I've seen, like The Mountain Is You, like that's one of those books like I kept hearing about. And they're like, "Well, you probably wouldn't like it. It's really like going really deep into like the inner self." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I mean, everybody has inner self, right?" But then once I did get into it, I'm like, wow, like I don't know. I feel like information is available to all of us now. We do have the internet. We don't have to search, and honestly, whether it's content or books, sometimes if it didn't have a label, if it was like that book and no jacket, like we're just looking at information, we probably wouldn't walk in with a certain bias. We would just take it for what it was. That's probably exactly what you did. Took it for what it was and, it pulled you in. So that's almost a more natural way to get the information, not having that prejudgment up front. So it's kind of a nice way to come upon a good book, honestly, when they
Yes.
come with a story too.
And like you said, you'll hear something. So that's another reason why I don't recommend anything because those books will find you. The information that you need, I believe it finds you. So if it happens to be on somebody's coffee table, if it falls off the shelf, or you're at a bookstore or cafe or something like that, what's meant for you is going to find you.
That's true.
Mhm.
And when
Yes.
something I do feel like sometimes something will be referred and it'll like pique a little interest, but I'm just not at that stage where I could have probably fully gotten it. And then it will always pop back up when it is at that stage, like, oh, I can handle this now. Like I'm in a good place to be open to this now. So definitely with books, even people on YouTube. Like there are people that I've run across now that I can watch that probably
Mhm.
5 years ago I would have been either just triggered or confused
Yeah.
or something like that. And sometimes even stuff I have seen before, like movies or sermons or something, I'll see and I'm like, I've seen this before and it's hitting completely differently just
Mhm.
because now, I've learned things or switched things up. So that's why that education piece, like we were talking about, like that's never gonna go away. Like I will probably be 90, still reading everything available. If my eyes still work, someone might have to read it to me. I might have to get on Audible and be like, okay, let's just blind pick something and here's some new information. But I think that's what keeps people young and living and thriving too. So never giving up the books. I don't care. any other any other work that you have done that you feel like has just really gotten to you? Any certain like inner work or whether, wherever you picked it up at, anything that you've done
Mhm.
personally that just really let you unlock some healing from anything you've gone through or had to deal with in your past.
Well, what I'm currently doing, um, as much as I have been on that journey, the self help and all of that, and reading, and I know you said you're going to continue to 90, and I will too because of joy of it. But I have to honestly say, at this point in my life, you probably, like you will get to a point that you don't even need to have the books anymore. You're going to be that walking, talking book. I don't need as many books today. Um, what I'm doing is actually embodying and practicing what I have learned over the years. And so now that I am on YouTube and I have to look at this camera, I am practicing mirror work so I can look at
Okay.
myself. So believe it or not, I just never looked at myself in the mirror. And so now I'm saying all the things, all the affirmations so I can practice so I can be here, because it's not like I'm talking to anybody I can see except today. I can see you, but when I'm doing these videos by myself, I've noticed that I need to have a lot of mirror work for my confidence just looking at a stream, you know. So you're
That
always on a
makes sense.
love journey. But like I said, I think you're going to get to a point that you don't need as many books.
That
It's
makes
going to be a
sense.
memory.
I do
It's,
think
yeah.
things have kind of started shifting too. Like I'm in my late 30s now, and I feel like everything that I wanted to work on before in some way, maybe a back way, but in some way was focused on like men or relationships or something like that. There was
Mhm,
just such
mhm,
a heavy focus on that. Yes, I was improving myself, but it was almost like at least a portion for someone else. And now I feel like I'm like freed to just like worry about me for the first time,
mhm,
worry about what I'm actually interested in or working on versus, working on me to like sculpt it for someone else. Now it's like so much more genuine and self focused. I don't know if that's an age thing or just a stage thing, but I do think
mhm.
that has kind of unlocked a little. So maybe you're giving me a preview of the next stage where I don't even need, as much input and can give a little more output. So definitely interesting. I'll have to let you know. Catch me in 4 or 5 years and we'll see, like, was she right? Did she nail it? Because I feel like you're probably right. So far, like I said, I got enamored and so I'm like, "Ooh, like, that's a very good point. I like that mindset. I like that thought process." And I definitely feel like whatever you've learned has culminated beautifully to get you where you are. So,
Mhm.
I hope
Sure.
they have lots of awesome content to push out to the masses and I'll be part of the masses. So bring them my way when you have things. Any any other thoughts, questions, comments, anything before we hop off that jumps up for you?
Um, let's see. I'm trying to remember something else that we talked about that we probably didn't talk about here, that we talked about privately that we didn't mention. I'm trying to see. So we talked about my journey here on YouTube, herbalism. I don't know. Ask me something. Ask me what you want to know before we get off of here. It seems like it went so fast that we just jumped
It
right
does
in.
go fast. What about beauty-wise? Like, whenever we're looking at pictures, like, you have all kinds of cute hairstyles, different
Mhm.
outfits, like, bunch of different, like, vibes that you'll bring, and I do feel like you look the happiest in all of your outside pictures, sorry, not sorry, but is there any, like, beauty tip or just anything that really, like, you pulled in and stuck with you like, "Oh, okay, like, this is a vibe, this is a feeling." Anything on the outward? Because I feel like the inward unlock, anything on the outward you can share.
Yeah, I think those pictures is because I've been a fashion girl all of my life too. So
I believe
I,
you.
wa-
Yes.
I did some modeling, and and wanted to be a professional model at one time too. So, um, it's just, just be authentic. So I think that shows up in the pictures, just being yourself. And that's what I just say to everybody is just, be yourself. I know it sounds so cliche, but you just got to let your light shine out, whatever it is within you.
I feel like yours
So
is
people
like a
gonna like it, they're
confidence
not gonna
thing.
like it. Hmm?
I feel like yours is like a confidence thing because I will say, like, sometimes people who are into fashion, like, they'll throw on a very fashionable outfit, but not like they're not wearing it. Like, the outfit kind of wears them. You're wearing the outfit. So that makes sense that it's just the genuine, like, ooh, I love this. I'm gonna wear it. So I think maybe that's a skill that not everyone has by any means, like something maybe that you had from childhood too. You just have that ability, but it's certainly something that is noticeable as not the norm, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people, like, even just looking through pictures, like, it's like dead eye. Like, yeah, I'm here, got a cute outfit on, but it's not giving
Yeah.
anything. And all of your pictures, like, you could like feel the energy or see the vibrancy. So whatever you're doing, it works. So everybody, go follow, check out the channel, subscribe, like, show some love, and learn some stuff. Most importantly, learn some stuff.
Hi to your people here with all these
Oh yes.
roses and all of that. I love it. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Oh,
So
yes,
I
you're so
guess
welcome.
I'll just leave off with that. Just enjoy your life.
All right.
I think
You too.
that's what it is.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Bye bye.
Bye.